right, let's see what's going on with President's press conference that he did this morning.
A beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room.
That's not.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
But if
Very
peace
good
does
people,
not come quickly,
but
we
they're
will
tough,
go after those other
and
targets with
they
precision,
know what's happening, and they've done it
speed,
before.
and skill.
In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and going to a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore.
Oh, you
We're not
should have
gonna
called them
take it.
fent zombies.
Yeah, just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, you know, when you take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is, okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these.
I'm pretty sure he kind of.
Baghdad is,
I mean,
we doubled
Chicago.
up on
You should
Baghdad.
see Chicago.
Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru,
Chicago, Illinois.
all double and triple what they are. So do you
But
want to live in
I think
places like
that's
that?
just the
I
cities.
don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. D.C., 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. Is that where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America. Really, it's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is.
Yep, there it is.
We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this.
Oh yeah, Oklahoma.
And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the Doge staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead, with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head
Oh yeah, I remember that.
by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. There are ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against law. See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform.
Yeah,
they're standing,
they always
and they're
spit.
screaming at them
Makes no sense.
an inch away from their face, and then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit, and they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've
Yeah,
watched
people
them.
do it constantly.
Police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any search. So and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central, no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody, we're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime. Totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things. And we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out, how good it is. Biggest tax cut in history. So many things. But we'll be able to get that done. So, Todd, if you and Pam can draw up things working with the people, we will. I'll get it passed. We'll get it passed with the Republicans. Probably won't get, think of this, probably won't get one Democrat vote because they have no idea what they're doing. That's why they want men playing in women's sports. That's why they want transgender for everybody. Everybody transgender.
Everybody is transgender.
And they just got walloped in an election, in a landslide, and they haven't changed one thing. I saw the other day the certain gentleman who was a very well-known politician, Democrat, was fighting like hell that men should be allowed to play in women's sport. They just don't get it. He said it's an 80-20 issue, and I think it's a 97.
Oh, is he talking about Nancy Pelosi?
Anybody come? Nobody's ever come up to me.
Nancy
Sir,
Pelosi
you have
was
to
the
let men play in women's
gender-affirming
sports.
care
You
bullshit.
have to do it, sir. Nobody's ever approached me. I don't know where this issue even comes from. Never seen anything like it.
She was drunk.
But they
when
turned
she
our
said
nation's
that, I'm
capital
pretty
into a
sure.
sanctuary jurisdiction. That's the other thing. We have to get rid of sanctuary cities as quickly as possible. We're going to do it, too. We have to. Because it's sanctuary for criminals. Releasing illegal alien gang members onto the streets in 2022, nearly 70% of criminals arrested in Washington went unprosecuted. That's not going to happen with the group we have standing aside and standing behind me. And at the Metropolitan Police Department, it's now reached a small number relatively compared to what it was, but it's thousands of people. You know, we have thousands of police. I was told today, sir, they want more police. I heard a number, 3,500 police. That's a lot of police. 3,500. I thought they were going to say, we only have 30 policemen or women. They said, we have 3,500. We need more. You don't need more. That's so many. I never heard. That's like an army. How could you need more than 3,000? It just happened 2 minutes ago. Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's ridiculous. What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people
Yeah,
here.
you need people to enforce those
Look at the border.
rules.
Biden
Also,
said, there's
some of
nothing you
these,
can do.
some
Kamala
of
was the
these
border
law
czar. She never called
enforcement
one of the border patrol
officers,
agents who were great
I'm
ISIS
pretty
threat.
sure
Never
some
spoke to
of them
anybody.
are
Never
not
went there.
like up to
She
police
was the border
snuff
czar.
too.
And everybody said it was impossible to fix. I fixed it in 3 months.
Have
No,
you seen
really,
like the
I fixed it
very
the first week,
fat
but
policeman?
really
It's
fixed it
like,
over
what the
last
fuck?
couple months.
How are you a
And I mean,
police?
literally to a point where, as I said,
It's just like
zero
it's because
illegals entering our
they don't
country
have anybody
in the
else
last
who's
90 days.
trying
Pretty
to
amazing.
obtain the
It's
job.
time for dramatic action. We're going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be a very safe city very soon. We're not looking to take years.
That's
Because a
what
lot of
you
people
get.
die in years. And we've got incredible people in this country. Except we have to allow them to do their job. And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent. Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police. And they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police,
True.
U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department
Yeah,
of
not
Homeland Security.
a lot
They got
of nations have
some
the
police.
same shit.
But they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way, because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designer said, well, we need a quarter of an inch more turn for safety reasons. We're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring
need to
public safety
shave off
emergency in the District of
couple
Columbia. Attorney
centimeters.
General
We need to repaint
Pam
the whole
Bondi, who's
road.
fantastic, is taking
Break
command
it.
of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry if you're not going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. And you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department. Okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good
there it
people.
is.
You have people that shouldn't be there. You have some
MP
people that shouldn't be there.
Metropolitan Police
They got in there because of
MPD.
woke. But you have a lot of great police. And those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the street. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way. We're going to have National Guard. But Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in, it's been used many times over the years.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher.
Yeah, we don't have
These
just
people here.
foreign. We also have domestic.
Nothing, you know, they're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has
Yeah,
killed
remember
people
that
numerous
one
times. They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society.
An
I don't care.
article we
I know
read
all wanna say, "Oh, they're gonna
yesterday
be rehabbed."
where it
It's not
was,
gonna be
what, a 15-year-old teen
I'm going to ask Doug Burgum
had
to come up
a
and say a couple
had
of
a
words because
fucking
he's in charge,
rifle
as you know. He's
and like two
interior, but he's
fucking
in charge of the
pistols,
U.S. Park Police, and I've heard so many great things about
all
them. They're so proud of
unregistered.
it. They've been there for a long
By the
time.
way,
Their families
motherfucker had
oftentimes go
drum
into the
mags
roles.
and
They
shit.
love the
He
country.
was
They love this area. So, Doug,
strapped.
could you say a few words, please?
That 15-year-old was
Thank
strapped.
you, Mr. President. On behalf of
What
the
the
U.S.
fuck?
Park Police, this is the oldest federal police force in the nation. They were formed in 1791 by
Yeah, he
none
was
other
more
than,
strapped than me,
President George
fucking hell.
Washington. They've got the awesome responsibility of protecting our nation's most sacred monuments. The National Mall, Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Statue of Liberty, and out west, the Presidio and the Golden Gate area. These folks have tens of millions of visitors a year, the kind of people that President Trump's talking about that come from around the country and around the world to see our sacred and learn about our history and our sacred monuments. They've been doing a fantastic job, but they are so pleased, the rank and file, that President Trump is now allowing them to enforce the law. As those of you that live in the city may know, that the circles and the triangle parks that are spread throughout D.C. are actually federal park property. So the U.S. Park Police also have responsibility for that. These became littered with homeless camps under the Biden administration. All of you saw that. Since President Trump's
Well, I mean,
executive
even
order on
before
March
the
27th,
right,
making
even
DC
even
safe and
during
beautiful
the
again, the US
fucking
Park Police
Obama
removed over 70
administration, there was homeless
homeless
camps.
And
Homeless
President Trump
has
also
been
talked about
homelessness has been
they're
running
stopping,
rampant for
in enforcing the laws against
decades.
graffiti on our monuments. They've removed
Decades
over
and
80
decades.
specific attacks against our history.
Right,
with
even
graffiti
when
on
I
our
was
monuments. So they
born,
continue to do a great job, whether
homelessness
it's in
was
their
a
vehicles,
fucking
on foot, or on
problem,
the
yeah.
mounted police that you see around the National Mall. And President Trump,
I'm
they thank
fucking
you. The
30
rank and
years
file is so
old.
happy to be enforcing
So
the law
back
again.
then,
Thank you
in
for your leadership.
1990s,
And they're
homelessness was a
excited about
problem
the announcement
still.
you're making today.
Thank you. Very good. Great job you're doing. Thank you very much. Pete, could you say something about the military, if you would?
Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here. And at your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized
So
units.
yeah, they're
They
just
will be
talking
strong,
about all the
they
other
will be
units
tough,
that they
and
said
will
they're
stand with
just
their law
trying to
enforcement
bring in.
partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the President noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect
Yeah,
our own.
we're
We're
literally
working with
protecting
ICE and
other
CBP. In Los
people's
Angeles,
shit.
we did the same thing, working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all DC police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful, and as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is, we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong, we're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to ask Pam, because she's now, as you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. And people are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. D.C. should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the president said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gadi Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge.
Are they all
and
going
she
to be
is going to be talking about juvenile
it
crime,
seems
how
like
it's out of
everyone's
control here, and what
doing a
she's
little-
going to do to fight back.
Doing a little bit of talking.
No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys.
They
We're
saw
going
that
to do
shit too.
everything we can.
Yeah,
And
so
working
I
with
think
the
what
ATF,
was it? It was like two
ATF Director
females
Driscoll
like
and Commander of the
attacking an
Army.
elderly old
We're
man.
going to
It
all
was
work
fucking
together.
weird.
That's what we all do in this room. We work together. We fight. Do not underestimate one person in this room. We're going to make D.C. beautiful. We're going to make D.C. safe again. One other thing, just at the wharf a few days ago, the area of the wharf, Terry Cole reached out to me, not even nightfall, on the weekend, where so many families in tourists go. A guy's overdosing from fentanyl on a park bench in the middle of families around. They administered Narcan and saved his life. No more of that. The President of the United States is going to clean up D.C., and we're going to be there to help him, and we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Cash, talk about Northern Virginia. If you Northern Virginia, we had a big success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your leadership, Deputy Attorney General, and the rest of our interagency partners. Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops, and I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That's a 25% increase.
No, it's
since the
okay.
same
There's
time
just
period
going to
last
be
year.
a bunch
And
of
just to put
rape
it in perspective,
deniers.
1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to
You
kill
know,
115 million
maps,
Americans.
map
115 million
deniers.
Americans.
Those
Cops are
fucking
getting after
weirdos,
it.
right?
The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this
Put
year
them in
alone.
jail
Thanks
with
to
the
President
rest
Trump's
of 'em.
administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600
Guilt
people
by
who committed
association.
violent
You're
acts
trying to
against
help a
children.
criminal. Get him.
270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this
Hang
is
'em.
what happens when you have
Get
great
that
leadership
boy.
at the Attorney
Get the
General
guy.
with Pam Bondi, your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops, let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions, and that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gadi and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C. And we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much.
Ooh, some dumbbells.
So the process begins right now. It actually started over the weekend, and we confronted a lot of very bad people. But it's going to be something that will be pretty amazing to you as you watch it. And I think most of you say it's a beautiful thing. You do it right. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, got a lot of problems. But we've already started that.
Dirty.
We're moving
Got a
the
bunch of
encampments
needles
away,
and
trying to
shit
take
all
care of
over the
people.
floor. Look at the
Some of those
California
people,
poop map.
We don't know how they even got there.
They should just
Some of
make a
those people are
poop
from
map
different
for all
countries, different parts
states.
of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. We're getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city. There are many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help. But they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. The Metropolitan Police Department and the federal authorities will be supported in the effort, a really big effort, the 800 D.C. National Guardsmen that we'll put on, and much more if necessary, much more. You remember I said, I offered 10,000 once. Remember I said to a certain person, a person who I thought always was highly overrated, not very competent. But I said, if you need him, we'll give you 10,000 of the military or the National Guard. They turned me down. But
Is
if
he talking
necessary, we're gonna
about
move,
Nancy Pelosi
service
right
members directly to joining the Guardsmen, and that'll take place very rapidly, and that'll be done in conjunction with Pam and with Pete and everybody else. Washington, D.C. should be one of the
Was he
safest,
talking about
cleanest, and
Nancy
most beautiful
Pelosi
cities
right
anywhere
there,
in
or
the world.
was
And,
he talking
we're going to make
about
it that. We're going to
like
make it safe.
California
we're going to make it
and
smart.
the
We're going to make it beautiful. So beautiful.
ICE
Some of the buildings,
protests and shit?
we're going to add to it. You see what we've
fucking
done at the White House.
put up.
White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is
I like
becoming very
fixing
beautiful. We're going to be
things.
adding a
That was
magnificent
real
ballroom,
estate.
most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I've never seen the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a D.C. news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in D.C. and beautification of D.C., but I'm going to put that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy, too. A person who I've known for a long time, and she's been incredible. She was a fantastic, one of the best ever district attorneys in New York. She was in Westchester, and she became a judge, very successful judge. And then she went into show business because she was such a good DA and such a good judge, tough judge, but fair, always fair. Nobody ever complained about that, but she was tough. And because of that and her reputation, she went into showbiz. So a lot of people don't, they think of Janine as showbiz. Actually, showbiz was not her thing. And she did great. She was on, along with a couple of other of my friends, on the #1 show.
Yeah, I mean, she
And,
was
she
right.
did
She was a
great, but
lawyer
this
first,
is
and
what
then she did
loves
showbiz
doing.
after.
This is really her baby. What she's going to do is going to be incredible.
Right, she
And
was
I'd
like
like
the
to,
right,
introduce her,
just like
speak for
Judge
just a few
Judy was
seconds
like
on,
national TV.
what she
for
has in
like
mind, what she
some-
wants to do.
some
We're going to be appointing
courtrooms,
some judges.
right,
We have some open
common-
spots, and we're going to take
like
because the judges are
Commonwealth stuff
letting
or
killers
family
out. They
court
just
or
say,
whatever.
Go. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
so
Judge,
we're putting some
right,
Pam
Janine is the
recommended,
same
Todd
thing,
recommended,
right? She was
some judges
was
that are great.
held up
Janine
there with,
recommended. Janene's
as
given me 3 great
right, a national
candidates already.
TV
We have
figure
10
on,
open spots, so
right,
we could probably create some more. We need them.
or
Janine, would you say a
lawyer
few words,
stuff.
please?
Lawyer
Thank you very
stuff.
much, Mr.
Oh,
President,
shit,
and
whoops.
thank you, Madam Attorney General, and to all my partners here. We all want the same thing. We all want a safe city. We want a safe capital. We want to be able to bring our families here. We want to be able to come and enjoy the history that makes this place great. And unfortunately, we are not in that position right now. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore. And I'm not going to stand here and go over and over the cases. But what I can tell you is this. I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the
Hoodlums.
hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are.
Hoodlums.
They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict
Correct.
someone of shooting another person with an
Yeah.
illegal gun
Basically,
on a
those-
public bus.
Basically, those people, those kids who go on to do crime at those age, yeah, they get a lot of immunity to certain things because they're still young, right? Some courts will not try them and that's why they get away.
In the chest.
And then those
Intent to
guys
kill,
still become
I
problem
convict
people.
him. And you know what the judge gives him?
After the fact, and then
Probation.
they get
Says you
caught
should
by
go
the-
to college.
They get caught
we need
again
to go
constantly.
after the DC Council and their
they
absurd
get a
laws.
long rap
We need to
sheet.
get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not going to end today, because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction
Well, yeah,
is
they
to
have
the
been
State
emboldened
Attorney
to break
General,
the law,
Brian
yeah.
Schwab.
You
I did
allow
a
them
poster
to,
of
right,
the young
you
man from
allow
Doge
them
who was
to
beaten
not-
bloody
you
with a
don't
severe
get the- you
concussion,
don't
a
enforce the
broken
rules.
nose. And then I did a poster
you don't
of
enforce
what
the
happens
laws,
to
and you
those
have
kids because I
people
can't arrest them,
constantly
I can't prosecute
stealing,
them.
killing
They go
people.
to family court and they get to
Right.
do yoga
Grand Theft
and arts and
Auto,
crafts.
Grand Theft Larceny,
Enough.
arson.
It changes today.
Maybe
Thank you,
even
Mr.
doing a
President.
little Rico, yeah.
If I could, I just signed
Maybe
some
maybe
executive orders.
maybe
I'd like to have
some
Will
drug
come
dealing
up
and some human trafficking,
we'll,
you know.
let the people know what we signed. Do you want to put them down?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
A short while ago in the Oval Office, President Trump signed 2 crucial executive actions to deal with the emergency crime conditions we currently face in the District of Columbia. The first of these was an executive order, as President Trump said before, invoking his powers under Section 40 of the Home Rule Act to take federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Along with that executive order, President Trump signed the statutorily required notification letters to Mayor Bowser and to the relevant House and Senate committee leaders. The second major executive action that President Trump signed was a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Defense to utilize the National Guard.
Honestly,
to
this
address
is
the
only
conditions we
happening
see
because they
our streets here in
couldn't
D.C.
keep their
It
shit
also authorized the
handled.
Secretary of Defense to work with
And
state
now you
governors
have
to
right
utilize
now you
their
have the
National
feds
Guard
stepping in to
units if
kinda,
necessary
like,
as well.
fix the
These are
situation.
bold, decisive steps
Or at
intended
least
to combat the out-of-control crime conditions we've seen on D.C.
re-enter
streets for
laws
far
and
too long.
enforcement
And I,
so
for one,
that
am
they can
deeply
actually
proud to be part of an
fucking do
administration
something
that's
right.
finally coming to terms with
Finally
these
do
issues.
something about it.
Sir.
Thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues. And I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast. But we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety. Nobody gets it. I don't get it. They don't get it because they can't get votes. I don't know how they can win an election with this, but they don't want safety. And I found an old statute, very old, early 1900s, that said if you so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or a monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years with no probation, no anything. In other words, slightly different than we have today. Today we have cashless bail. Today you get jailed 10 years. No curtailed sentence, 10 years. And we took it out. Nobody used it. It was never used because, it's harsh. And you remember they started to rip down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I said, that's a tough one to rip down. He was pretty good, Pam. I think he was pretty good. When the rope started going around Abraham Lincoln to pull him down, Andrew Jackson, others, and they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial, Thomas Jefferson. We're going to do a big number there. I said, it's time. And I signed that statute immediately. We had it updated. We made it use the same language, all passed by Congress. And I announced it's 10 years in jail, no probation, no anything, 10 years, no curtail sentence if you touch, so much as touch a statue in Washington, D.C. And it was an amazing sight, beautiful sight. Everybody just left. The ropes were hanging around Andrew Jackson, and there were 2 ropes around Abraham Lincoln. They left the rope, but everybody just left. And that was the last problem we ever had. That was the last problem we ever had with the statues. They were going wild. And somebody came to me and said, sir, in 1910, I don't want to give you an exact because you'll say, Donald Trump gave us wrong dates around like early on. If I'm slightly off, they make you sound a little bad. So I won't put myself in that position. I won't put you in that position. Because I think everybody agrees with what we're doing today. But when I signed that thing, it was like a miracle. Everybody left. They were gone. They were starting to march down. They started the march toward Thomas Jefferson. And I figured he was always going to be safe. But they found something with him, and they found something with Abraham Lincoln. And even in the name George Washington in California, numerous places changed the name of George Washington High School and various other places. They took George Washington's name. This was a sick, woke culture that I think we've largely ended. And a lot of those people that were woke are now turning out to be the opposite. I won't go so far as to say MAGA. It's a very special category.
I don't think
But,
he's
they've gotten
going
out
to
of
take any
But
questions.
we have people that love this country and they love this really beautiful capital. It is. I flew over.
Oh,
the
yeah,
other day and I
he
said,
does.
"What a
Okay,
beautiful
they
place."
do
But
look like-
there's
okay.
crime all
I
over the
take
streets.
questions.
When you
But
get there, it doesn't look so
for
beautiful.
other
But we're going to make
stuff.
it beautiful again. We're going to fix it with crime, and we're going to also, as we're doing that, we're going to start doing things that we know how to do, that I know how to do better than anybody, I guess, because of my experience from previous life. But not only are we stopping the crime, we're going to clean up the trash and the graffiti and the grime and the dirt and the broken marble panels.
Yeah,
All
you
of the
should do
things
that
they've done
with
to hurt the city.
California too. That
And we're going to
kind of
restore
needs
the
to
city
be
back to
fixed.
the gleaming capital.
Don't get me
that
wrong. There's some
everybody wants it to be. It's
graffiti
gonna
out
be
there that should
something very
that's
special.
actually
All
okay.
of these people
Right?
are
There's
really
actually
top-notch.
graffiti
You're
artists
gonna
that
be so
get the
important to you.
go
You're
ahead
gonna
to do
be-
some of that
you're
stuff.
gonna
But
be
there
that
are
guy. I hope I don't
also
have to fire
right
him
the
in 2
non
weeks 'cause he's too soft.
graffiti
I don't think
artists
he's
that
too
are
soft. If
fucking
I
shit
do, I
up
will, though.
and
Is it okay
they're
if you're
fucking up
if you're
murals and
soft,
whatnot?
weak, and pathetic like so many people? I will fire you so fast. You're not going to have to worry about that. No, I think you're going to do a fantastic job. And everybody in this room, they may not express it, but they all want that to happen. They want to be safe, and they have families too. So it's an honor to have such a large group. I've done this for years now. Hard to believe. I've never seen this room so packed. In fact, I'm sure it's a violation of every fire code. But we'll let you stay anyway. You're taking a chance. And with that, we'll say maybe if you could. Oh, wow. We could be here all day long. If we could keep the first questions perhaps to this subject, and then we'll go into a few others. Please.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Can you talk about how personal of an issue this is? You talked about flying over the Washington Monument and seeing the pride of what D.C. is. And do you believe the status of the city, the cleanliness, the way that crime is low, is a direct reflection on how the country is run?
Yeah, I do. I think the Capitol. Look, everyone comes here. They're all coming. All the leaders. They're all wanting to come. And I say it. I've said it again, but I'm really just quoting other leaders from NATO, from the Middle East, King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. I was over there. We brought back $5.1 trillion of investment into our country. But I was, a month and a half ago, I was at NATO. We had a great, I think they agreed to put up 5% instead of 2%. 2% they didn't pay, 5% is already paid. We had a great meeting, and they all said the same thing. They said our country was dead. They thought our country was gone. 1 year ago, they said your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country.
Well, I mean, because they probably weren't getting, right, they probably weren't talking to Biden a lot because Biden wasn't fucking doing
trillions of
anything.
dollars of money, but it gives us great power over
who knows,
enemies.
right?
We solved 5 wars. Pakistan and India with
I mean, pretty much
Azerbaijan,
ever since COVID happened,
Armenia.
I would assume that
was raging for 37 years.
the
And two
U.S.
leaders
has
got up
been
and they
like
said, "We never
radio
thought this would be
silent
solved." Russia
overseas
tried to
for a
solve
little
it. They
bit.
all tried to solve it. It was a very tough situation, but we got it done. And I said to the two men, I said, "Are you guys friends?" And they had a hard time. They've been killing each other for 37 years, right? One was there 5 years, one was there for 22 years. He said, "My whole life I've been fighting this war, and you got it solved." But we did many of those. We did in the Congo and Rwanda. That's been going on for 30 years. 8 to 9 million people killed that they know of, but it was raging, and we got that solved. We got a lot of them done. It's a great honor. But you want to have, when they come, the leaders come to our country to sign documents that the war is over or whatever, or for other reasons. They come for trade. And you want them to come through so beautifully. You ride down those roads, everything should be perfect. You shouldn't have medians falling down into the roadway. Median, you know, the metal things that are always, somebody had a great lobbyist, because I've never seen them look good. I've been looking at those things with the little, right? They're always broken and bad, but here they're really bad. And we're going to either put new or fix it. And it's not expensive. It's not really expensive. And we're going to fix our roads a little bit. We're going to clean up our sidewalks. You have countries where every Saturday, the people go out and they wash their sidewalks in front of their stores or their houses. They scrub their sidewalks. So we aren't quite at that level yet, I don't think.
Yeah,
We're
you
not quite there
literally,
yet.
yeah, in other countries they
go out
actually
and
like
I think it's
scrub
so
their
beautiful to hear that and to
sidewalks
see those things. But,
purposefully.
we're going to make it clean.
Because
but
you're
just to finish
stepping
with your
on
question,
shit, yeah.
It's a very, very strong reflection of our country. And when they see a bad city, you know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very
I mean,
smart.
sometimes
And
you're
he
literally
used to say,
stepping
"Son,
in shit. So,
when you walk into a
yeah.
restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in. Because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's a very good question. Actually.
Sorry. Question for you on the specific issue. Do you expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through? So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action to what we've seen in DC? And the other question, sir, there's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify marijuana. Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, but we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but you know, somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it, some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, you know, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, you know, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things, but for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question, I mean, we're just going to see what happens with it all. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll clean up, and maybe they'll do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful. I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be. It's a question of will it be really fast at the border. You know, everyone said, they used to say, Biden used to say, I need legislation. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Homan was great. As you know, our secretary.
Well, I mean, what legislation? You already have you already have it in the books. You just didn't fucking enforce it.
In a little while, let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's
fucking didn't do fuck all. Fuck you,
we need to.
Biden.
We're going to do the same thing in
Oh, we
Chicago,
need this.
which
We
is a
need that.
disaster. We have a mayor
No,
that was
no,
totally
you
incompetent.
already have it.
He's an
You're just being
incompetent
a fucking
man. And
bitch.
We have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would allow the water to come down, which I told them about in my first term. I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire. You were there. And I saw people standing in front of a burned down home. Their homes were incinerated. They weren't like, even the steel was literally, it was all warped and literally disintegrated because of the winds and the flame and the whole thing, like a blowtorch. They were standing on this beautiful day, maybe a couple of days after. We gave it a little time because what they had suffered. Almost 25,000 homes. And you see what's happening now. They didn't give their permits. I went to a town hall meeting. I said, we're going to get you the federal permits, which are much harder. Almost immediately. Lee Zeldin is a star. He did an incredible job. They have all their federal permits. They don't have their city permits. And the mayor said to me, we think we could have them in 2 years. I was walking down the street, and I met with firemen and police. And I was saying hello to many people that were standing in front of their homes with yellow tape. You can't go in. You can't go onto the lot. And those people wanted to start rebuilding their homes then and there. And the mayor said, we should be able to get them the permits within 2 years. I said, that's a shame. 2 years? Are you kidding? I'm going to get them the federal permit like almost immediately, 2 years. And she drew it back, well, maybe 1 year. The place was booing her out of the place. They don't have their permits to build their homes. And now they're talking about putting houses among the most beautiful areas.
When he did that conference with right in California with Mayor Bass, holy shit, there were so many fucking people upset. There were so many fucking people upset.
Was in the country. Now they're talking about putting low-income housing.
Yeah, they're like, we want to fix our homes.
I made money with low-income
Fucking
housing.
now.
I took low-income housing. I know more about low-income housing and luxury housing. I know about everything real estate. They want to replace some of those homes with low-income housing. They haven't gotten their permits yet. We've gotten all the federal permits, which are much tougher to get, and it was done almost immediately through Lee Zeldin and Federal Environmental. And I watched the other day, those people are angry. And now, they had they love that area. They loved the whole big area, different places, but they loved it. It was all luxury stuff and beautiful stuff, and some wasn't that luxury, but the level of love for that neighborhood, their neighborhoods, was incredible. And you know what? I watch people on television, they want to go, they want to leave. They've lost their spirit, they've lost their heart, because the mayor's incompetent. And Gavin Newsom is incompetent. He's got a good line of bullshit, but that's about it. He's incompetent. And you have Los Angeles is, it's amazing. I called, the first thing I did, I got the Olympics to go there. I was the one that got it. And by a rare thing that happened, I'll be the president. I was very upset because I got the Olympics there, and I said I won't be president when it comes, but bad things happened, and illegal things happened, really illegal things happened. Now it turns out one good thing was I'm going to be the president for the Olympics for 2050, for 250, which is going to be fantastic, and also for the World Cup. So we have a lot of good things, and I hope 250 is going to be the 250th anniversary is going to be the best. But when I looked at those people, and I saw it last night on television, that they still don't have their permits, it's a disgrace what's happened in Los Angeles.
Thank you. The China tariff deadline is tonight. Do you plan to extend that?
We'll see what happens. China's been, we've been doing
China. Uh-oh, we have to play it.
They have
He said China. He said China. Well, I mean, they probably said China.
And we'll see what happens. They've been dealing quite nicely. The relationship is very good with President Xi and myself.
You mentioned your upcoming meeting with President Putin.
Yeah.
Tell us what you hope to get out of that and whether you consider inviting President Zelensky to join.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. But if you look, under President Bush, they took a lot of territory. Under President Obama, they took a lot of territory. Under Biden, they essentially took the whole thing. It's just a question of time. Under Trump, you know what they took? Nothing. I was the one that said, you can't build your pipeline. That was half built. I came in, I stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Nobody knows that. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You might have even heard of it. Biggest pipeline in the world. I stopped it. I was not a friend of Russia, but I got along well with Putin. It's always good to get along with other countries if possible, but that doesn't mean you roll over like Biden did. Biden came in and he immediately approved the pipeline. I couldn't believe it. Then they say Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I wasn't tough. I was the toughest. Putin said, if you're not tough, I would hate like hell to see you. I stopped the biggest economic development job, the biggest job that Russia had ever built. I stopped it. It was dead. And this low IQ president came in. And supplied oil and gas all over Europe. So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times. Then I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place, and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. I said, that's cold. But it's a violent war. 5,000 to 7,000 people a week are dying. And there's nobody from here. They're all Russian and Ukrainian people, and some people from the cities, a much smaller number, but still, those missiles do damage and they kill a lot of people, but mostly soldiers. And they're young soldiers, although in the case of Ukraine, they're getting much older. They're drafting 60-year-olds now. It's a terrible thing to witness, and I think I have an obligation. Look, this is Joe Biden's war. This is not my war. I made a deal with NATO a month ago. You covered it very accurately, actually. We don't pay anything anymore. We're not paying anything. They are buying things from us, and NATO is paying us. I got it raised from 2% of GDP to 5%. And they're paying us for everything that we send. We're not paying.
Yeah,
But
NATO
Biden
wants to
approved
buy from
$350
us
billion.
because we have
Europe has spent
special
$100 billion.
armaments that they want.
The money that's been spent and the death
to
is
use
incredible. It's the worst
as
thing
well.
that's happened, by far the worst that's happened
Yeah,
since World War
so
II.
basically,
So I'm
they're
going in to
right.
speak to Vladimir Putin.
We're
And I'm gonna be telling
producing
him
and
you gotta end
making
this war. You gotta end it.
specialized armaments
And he wasn't gonna
versus
mess
certain
with me.
countries
This
that
war would
aren't,
never
right?
happened. You know, we had a
Like the
discussion
bunker
about it one
buster.
time, and
I
we
don't
never had that
think any
discussion
other
again. It would
country
never
has
happen.
the bunker buster.
And when the election was rigged, and then Biden took office, which was barely took office.
And if they do
Europe
have a
took
bunker
office.
buster, they're
Bad things
probably
started
they're
happening.
either
Bad
buying
things,
it
stupid things were
for
said.
from
And
us
it
or
ended up in a
they
war.
right they
And you know
made
the
their
big-
own.
And I don't believe this will happen anymore because I have
From,
that pretty well
right.
covered. This could end up in a third world war. This could
Trade
have been a
deals
third
and
world war. I don't
shit
think that's going
from
to happen.
other like,
But I
businesses
thought it was very respectful
that do
that the
arms
president
trading
of
stuff.
Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going to his country or even a third-party place. But I think
Right,
we'll have,
it was the same way
constructive
how
conversations. Then after that meeting, immediately,
it
maybe
was
as
the
I'm
same
flying
way
out,
how the
maybe
U.S.
as
has
I'm
been
leaving the room, I'll be
hiding
calling the
the
European leaders who I get along with very well.
the subsonic
And,
missiles
I have a great
and
relationship, I
shit
think,
like
with all
that.
of them. And I get along with
They
some of these people,
allowed
but, you know, I
right
disagree with what he's
Russia
done
and
very, very
China
severely disagree.
right
This is a
they
war that should have never happened.
see
Wouldn't have
this is the issue.
But I'll
The
be speaking to
U.S.
Zelensky. The
likes
next meeting
to
will be with
hide
Zelensky
certain
and Putin,
information,
or Zelensky and Putin. I'll be
even
there
though we
meeting, but I
know
wanna have a meeting
how
set up
more
between the two
advanced
leaders.
that
I was a
right
little,
the
bothered by the
military
fact that
is
Zelensky was saying, well, I have to
right
get
to compare it to
constitutional
some
approval.
of these
He's got
other
approval to go into
right,
war and kill
nuclear
everybody, but he
powers.
needs approval to do
So
a
it's a
land
little
swap,
weird
because there'll be some
whenever you
land swapping
search up
going on.
stuff
I know that
online
through
sometimes,
Russia
especially in
and
the
through
U.S.
conversations
online
with everybody.
sometimes.
To the good, for the good. of
You don't
Ukraine.
get all
Good
the
stuff, not bad stuff.
information,
Also, some
which
bad
is a
stuff.
little
For both.
fucking annoying.
There's good and there's bad, but it's very complex because
Because I
lines that are very
remember
uneven,
searching up
and
for
there'll be some
the
swapping,
right the
there'll be some,
subsonic stuff.
changes in land, and the word that they will use is they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the
it
battle
was a
lines.
long time.
And Russia's
it was
occupied a big portion of Ukraine.
some years
They've
ago
occupied
or
some
some
very
shit
prime
like that.
territory. We're going to try and get some of
But
that
it
territory
said
back to
that
Ukraine.
right
But they've
Russia
taken some
and
very
China
prime
were
territory. They've
ahead
taken
a
largely,
by a little bit.
Ocean. You know, in real
But
estate,
I'm
we call
pretty
oceanfront
sure that
property.
was
That's always
just
the most
a
valuable property.
right a
If you're on
false
a lake, a
flag.
river, or an ocean,
When
it's
in
always the best
reality
property,
they
right?
were right
Ukraine, a lot of people don't
they
know
were
that
on the
Ukraine was
same
largely
footing the whole
1,000
time. It's
miles
just
of
they never
ocean.
said
It's
anything.
gone. Other than one small area, Odessa. It's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now I may leave and say good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, it's by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the President of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that can be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the
That's
fact
a two-way
that
street.
I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the javelins. Do you ever hear of a javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them javelins. If it weren't for me, all those tanks that were destroyed at the first days of the war because the tanks got stuck in the mud, some commander made a better. You know, they would have been in Kiev in 4 hours, going down the highway. But a Russian general made a brilliant decision to go through the farmland instead. And they just had torrential rains, and the rains were so bad, and it was mud, and those tanks got stuck in the mud. I don't know who that general is, but knowing Vladimir, he's probably not around any longer because all those tanks were stuck in the mud, and they went along with the javelins. I gave him the javelins. You know that, right? I gave him javelins. I gave him sheets. But I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal. I will tell you this, I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. And if you go back 3 years, everybody was gung-ho for war. You know, everybody's gung-ho for war until you have it. It's an amazing thing. I had it with a couple of countries where I couldn't get a deal done with.
Well, I
one
mean,
particular
yeah,
country.
everyone's all gung-ho
And
until
the
they
guy
start
Strain was a friend of mine,
conscripting
great,
you.
good leader,
It's
tough
like,
as
what
hell.
the fuck?
Couldn't get the deal done. And then he went into
You
war for a
think,
short period
yeah,
of
in
time.
some
You
of
know
these
what I'm talking about.
countries, they're
First
so small, they
and it was
have to
nasty. Guys getting
draft
killed
and
all over the place.
conscript people.
And he went through 1 week of war, and I was able to get the deal.
And
done.
you're
He said,
you're
"This is
obviously
nasty."
versing a fucking superpower. Are you fucking out of your mind?
He he wasn't a part of it. I
A
would say he could
small
go,
ass
but he's gone
fucking
to a lot of
country
meetings.
version
He's
of
been there for 3.5
fucking
years, nothing
superpower.
happened.
How
I mean, do you want somebody that's
stupid
been
can
doing
you
this for
fucking
3.5 years?
be?
What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what
Man,
the
you're
deal is.
lucky they didn't
Because there could be
fucking
many
nuke you
definitions.
from
You know, you're talking
fucking
about
oblivion.
a very large and complex situation. I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, in Armenia.
Man,
was
you're lucky
almost as
they're
complex as
still
having
playing
to do
by
with
the
routes of
right
trade.
by the rules of
Well,
fucking
we're going to have a meeting
war.
with Vladimir Putin,
And they're
at
not
the end
going
of that
fucking
meeting, probably the first 2
right
minutes, I'll know
hog
exactly
wild,
whether or not a
wild
deal
and
comes
just
in.
destroying
Because
everything.
that's what I do. I make deals.
Yeah,
please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, one about China, one about Russia, if I could. On China, your administration agreed to send the most advanced or advanced NVIDIA and AMD chips.
No, obsolete. No.
Obsolete. Well, and then 15% of the
I mean
profits.
the 20s. No, this is an
Yeah,
old
it's
chip.
like I don't know. Yeah,
that
that's the other thing too. I don't know why people like to play around with fucking nuclear weapons. It's like you know you're fucking with superpowers that will fucking use these things at some point or another.
China already has.
I mean, they've
And
used it
I deal with
before.
Jensen,
What's
who's
stopping
a
them
great
from
guy
using it now?
in NVIDIA.
You
the
fucking
chip that we're
push hard
talking
enough,
about,
they're gonna
the
be
H20,
like, you
it's an old
fucking,
chip.
you're right.
China already has it. in a
You
different form, different
disrupt
name,
the
but they have
sanctity
it.
of their sovereign
Or they have the
nation, they're
combination
gonna
of two will
fucking
make
send
up
that
for it and even
nuke,
then some.
and there's nothing you can
Jensen also
fucking
has.
do
Jensen's
about
a very
it.
brilliant guy, and Jensen also has a new chip, the Blackwell. Do you know what the Blackwell is? The Blackwell is super duper advanced. I wouldn't make a deal with that, although it's possible I'd make a deal, a somewhat enhanced in a negative way Blackwell. In other words, take 30% to 50% off of it. But that's the latest and the greatest in the world. Nobody has it. They won't have it for 5 years. But the H20 is obsolete. You know, it's one of those things. But it still has a market. So I said, listen, I want 20% if I'm going to prove this for you, for the country, for our country, for the U.S. I don't want it myself. You know, every time I say like 747, I want, yeah, for the Air Force. That's all I just wanted. So when I say I want 20, I want for the country. I only care about the country. I don't care about myself. And he said, would you make it 15? So we negotiated a little deal. So he's selling a essentially old chip that Huawei has a similar chip, a chip that does the same thing. And I said, good, if I'm going to give it to you, because they have a, they have a stopper, what we call a stopper, not allowed to do it. A restricted, it's really known as a restrictive covenant. And I said, if I'm going to do that, I want you to pay us as a country something.
Oh,
Giving you a
okay,
release.
so
I released
yeah.
them only
So
from
see,
the
he's
H20.
right.
Now,
So he's
the
talking
Blackwell,
about the
I think
restrictions,
he's coming to see me
right? The
again about that.
restrictions
But
he
that will
had
be
for
a,
right. He's right.
unenhanced version.
Because we've
of
had
the big
restrictions
one.
with
Like,
China
I
because
don't
of
know
the
if you know
whole
it, we will
fucking
sometimes sell
conflict
fighter
with
jets to
Russia
a
and
country,
Ukraine, right?
And we'll give them 20% less than we have. You know what I mean, right? That's just it.
So on Russia, do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well? Should there be peace?
I do. Yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If Vladimir Putin would go toward business instead of toward war, it's a warring nation. That's what they do. They fight a lot of wars. A friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we.
Well, I mean, he's a
And, they beat
fucking,
Napoleon.
he's
They've been doing this for a long
ex-KGB.
time. I
Motherfucker
asked
probably
the
only
question
knows
to a very
war.
man that some people like and some people
Motherfucker
don't
only
like.
knows how to
Viktor
fight.
Orban, right? From Hungary, the head of Hungary, and he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said.
I
this
mean, he
was
just doesn't
before
know it.
Biden
He's
didn't do
obviously
anything to get us out of
Putin
it.
is
Could have
really
gotten us out of
smart,
that. It would have never happened.
but he's
I
very
said,
he's
so,
very smart
can
and
Russia be beaten
fucking
by-
right.
by Ukraine. He looked
He's
at me
a
like,
smart
"What stupid
soldier,
question?"
right?
He said, Russia's a massive country.
He's a soldier and
they
he's
win
smart.
Their country, and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beat you with trade. Russia beat you with war. I was very interested.
Well, I mean, I guess he's
China's not beating us
ex-soldier
with trade.
now.
Not when
He's-
I'm in charge.
he's
but
fucking
they were beating
retired,
Biden
but-
with trade, but they never beat us with
I
trade.
mean,
Don't
that's
forget
probably
China
not.
paid $400 billion
Look,
worth
he
of
could
terrorists
probably
when I was
still
ambassador.
use a
That
weapon
was
if he
last
wanted
time.
to.
And we didn't have COVID. All of this
He
stuff
could
would
probably
already, we
still
would be
use a
loaded. You know,
fucking
we're
machine
finding
gun,
hundreds of
right? A
billions of
handgun,
dollars of cash is pouring
whatever.
into our country
He
now
could probably still
because
use
of
one.
tariffs. And all we're
I
doing
mean, he probably
is
does
we're
from time to
doing what
time.
they do to us.
You know,
It's
practice.
so beautiful to see it. They
Who
find
knows?
they found
Never know.
last month, as you saw, $25 billion of excess cash flow. They're saying, where did it come from? I said, I'll tell you where it came from. It came from
Also, he
a
should
place
still have
called
the muscle
tariffs.
memory.
And we're doing very well. We're really doing well. But I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years. So if you put him in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or I won't be there. And I think it'll get solved. Yeah, please do. Excuse me, I'm going to suggest, because do you have any other questions on DC? Because I don't want them to be. Wait. These are incredible people. I don't want them to be standing up here on subjects. Does anybody have a question of them? And then you guys can leave. Okay, a question, Brian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
And by the way, this is only on DC. and then they're going to leave because it's unfair to have them stand up here all day long.
Right. I've got two questions for you. First, about D.C. This is personal for me as well. Last year, I was robbed on the streets by one of these teenage thugs. Had a gun, got away with it. Let's talk about the effort that between law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges. Because
yeah, there's a lot of teens.
Recycling belt. These
You
kids
say
go,
teens, but they're probably in
they go.
gangs.
Talk about how we got
To be honest,
judges and put
right?
these kids behind bars.
Honestly, to be at that age and to have
And my second question,
weapon, right? To have a firearm at that age and everything, right?
It's real. Do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, that's
Here's the problem.
gang-related shit.
Assuming that they're 17
that's
years
well,
older than 17 years old, I can get the case.
Fatherless
If they're under
behavior.
18 years of age, I can only get the case if it's murder, rob one, rape, even if they shoot a gun but don't kill you, I can't get it. So the law has to be changed. As the president said, cashless battle. That has to be changed. All right, then, even assuming I get the case, I get jurisdiction, I get a conviction, the D.C. Council has given the judges the ability to give probation on shootings. And so then it's up to them. All of these things, the youth rehabilitation,
so basically
Incarceration
everything
Reduction
is
Act,
ran through
and now
the
they want to
judge.
seal records.
So basically
if we
what
work hard and
happened
get a conviction, they
is
want to wipe it out. So that needs
they made a lot of laws that basically go easy
Yeah, and
on
just back to
perpetrators.
that topic. Let's be clear, though. We're going to charge them, and we're going to track every
So basically,
single
you
thing
need
they
to
do
reverse
throughout
some of
every
those
step of the
laws
court
that
process and report back to you
basically
and let
makes
all of
it
you know
soft on.
what's happening to them.
That's
Because
essentially
people
what happened.
Who are
When
prosecuting
Biden
them,
came
judges
in,
who are
he
trying them,
essentially
they also
made
need to be held
everything
accountable.
soft on crime. Right, and then when Trump came in, he now has to fix all of those fucking laws that he fucking
Where's my
did.
superstar?
And
Carolina.
that's gonna take some time, because even the judges are fighting back on some
here,
of that
Caroline.
shit.
Come
Right,
here.
because the judges are,
Come here.
in a sense,
Is she doing a
super
good job, by the way?
liberal
Come
or corrupt.
Is this
right?
the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a wall.
Oh, she's got her cross back on. Uh-oh.
Brian, go ahead.
question is this.
Your
You're
line
building
level
a
got
big,
her
beautiful
cross
ballroom. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room,
Yeah.
updated technology,
Yeah.
more seats?
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable. So look. Let's just do this. Let's do this. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal. What happens, happens. I'll let you know what happens. You'll be the first to know. I'll be calling the European leaders. I'm going with totally. I mean, we have a lot of talks. They're great people. They're great leaders actually, and they want to get back. Honestly, as one of them said, I've OD'd on trying to settle Ukraine. They've OD'd. They've overdosed on the settlement of Ukraine. Not a nice expression, but boy, is it accurate. They want to get back to spending
They've
money in their countries.
overdosed?
You know, they're in-
What do you mean?
Biden gave them $350 billion. Europe gave $100 billion.
You mean
It should
you're...
be much more than that. Shouldn't have been that kind of.
You're
They should have had
between a
equalization,
rock and a
but they
hard
didn't.
place?
But you know what? Still, a lot of money. They want to get back to building their own countries. They really want it resolved. My relationship with the European leaders, as you saw, is extremely good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Wait. And we're going to try. I'll be in touch with them. I have 5 of them call me. You think it's easy? There are a lot of European leaders, but they rely on me. Very much rely on me. If it wasn't for me, this thing would never get solved until the last person breathing is
It
dead.
seems like all the nations rely on the
I'm
U.S.
talking
for
to them
some
right now.
fucking
So I'm talking
reason.
to the
I don't
European
know
leaders.
why.
I'll be talking to President Zelensky. I'm going to get everybody's
I guess
ideas.
they're
I go
too
into that
scared
thing, fully
to
loaded right up
fucking
there,
pull the trigger on
and
some
we're going to
things.
see what
I
happens.
guess
Now,
that's pretty much what
I
it
think
is.
one of two things is going to
I would
happen. It's gonna be
assume.
a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll
These
get it
people
done.
are too
I'd like
afraid to
see
pull
a
the trigger.
ceasefire very, very quickly. Very quick. I'd like to see it immediately.
Too
but I'd
afraid
like
to
see
get
it
their
very
fucking
quickly.
hands dirty
And,
when
we're gonna be
they're
dealing with
already
the
getting
European
their
leaders,
fucking
and
hands
we're
dirty.
going to be dealing with
Makes no
President
fucking
Zelensky,
sense.
and hopefully we're going to have a great success. As far as this, what we did today, and I think you were here for D.C. more so than even Russia, because Russia will be, we have a couple of days to go, but the Russia is going to be very interesting. But to me, what is very exciting, we're going to take back our capital. We're going to make it beautiful again, but we're going to make it, more importantly, safe again. It's going to be so safe. It's going to be a model. And then we'll look at other cities also. But other cities are studying what we're doing. And you have some capable people in other cities. They can do it too. But we have a great group of professionals. We're going to have a safe, beautiful capital, and it's going to happen very quickly. Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
There it is. He is done.
Madam Attorney General, the Justice Department appeal the Epstein decision today, Mr. President. How long will the takeover of DC police last?
I keep asking questions. As soon as he left. What the fuck? There you have it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And honestly, the states have to fix it, right? A lot of states have a homelessness issue. Also, a lot of these politicians who are in those states talk about it sometimes, and they still fucking can't get a handle. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for we're done here for this. If you want to go look at the press briefing and more stuff, Straight Arrow News. They did the coverage here, or they got the feed. There was also other news places that got the feed too, but yeah. Anyways, there you have it.